The signal that changed everything. The skies over the Andari system were quiet. Ships once filled with trade and peace talks had vanished from the lanes. On the surface of planet Cora, once a busy world of scholars and scientists there, was only silence and smoke. The invaders had come without warning. The Korans had no army. They had never needed one. General Merrick of the Zarn Empire stood proudly in the ruins of Cora's capital. He looked up at the burning spires and smiled. Another weak world taken, he said far underground. In a hidden chamber beneath the central university, a small group of surviving Korans huddled around a console. One of them, a young tech named Lero, held his breath as he pressed a button. Device was old, ancient by their standards. No one had used it in generations. A forgotten link to a world many thought was only legend now dash Earth. The distress signal blinked once. Twice, then disappeared into the void. Do you think they will come? An elder asked. Lero didn't answer. He wasn't sure. Earth was a myth to many, a place of dangerous beings. Stories spoke of human creatures from a death world who could survive fire, ice, and poison, and who turned war into an art. No one had seen them in over 100 years, but the Korans had no other choice. On a far edge of the galaxy, inside a silent station floating above a dead moon, a single light turned red. Commander Elias sat at the console, sipping dark coffee when the alert buzzed. He stared at the screen. Coordinates matched a deep code emergency one they hadn't seen in decades. Code, alien ally. Status, under attack. He stood, heart beating, faster. Give me command now, he said into the intercom. Minutes later, alarms rang across Earth's hidden fleet centers. Beneath the oceans, in orbit, and deep in the Martian bunkers, human warriors, Deathworlders, were awakened from their long sleep in the command chamber of the fleet carrier Rathburn. Captain Mira walked across the steel floor. Her face was calm, but her eyes sharp. She studied the information coming in. Unknown alien force has attacked Cora, her first officer said. Civilians mostly, no military present. Mira nodded. And they sent a plea directly to Earth? Yes. Ancient link. Biogenetic encryption. Only we could decode it. That meant one thing. The Korans still trusted Earth, or at least feared the same enemy. Mira turned to her crew. Ready, the Deathworlders. We march. Deep in the cryo chambers, metal lids hissed open. Rows of pods lit up as giant, armored humans stepped out. Some were nearly 7 feet tall. Others had scars from wars long past. Their eyes were cold. Focused. One of them, a man called Hawk, cracked his neck and smiled. Finally, he said. It's been too long. Back in the Andari system, the Zarn Empire began building bases, claiming planets, and silencing anyone who resisted. General Merrick was pleased. The galaxy was falling too easily, but above them, invisible to their sensors, a ripple spread across space. A tear in the quiet, a warning no one understood except the ones who remembered the legends. Because Earth had heard the call. And Earth was sending its monsters. Asterisk, the warship that shouldn't exist. Captain Mira stood on the bridge of the Rathborn, her eyes fixed on the massive viewing screen. The black void of space stretched endlessly ahead. But this time, they weren't drifting. They were hunting. All systems ready, her first officer said. Deathworlder units are armed, loaded, and waiting for orders. Good, Myra replied. Open the vault. Below the ship's main deck, a door that hadn't been opened in over 100 years unlocked with a heavy hiss. Steam poured out, revealing something ancient. An old warship docked within the Rathburn itself. It was called Oblivion Fang. A ship so dangerous it had been locked away by Earth's own leaders. Its weapons weren't just powerful. They were destructive beyond measure. Built during the final days of the Galactic uprising, the Oblivion Fang was never supposed to fly again. It had ended wars with a single volley. But now, Earth wasn't taking chances. Mira watched as it powered up. Lights blinked green, one by one. Send the warning. she said. Let the Zarn Empire know help is coming. Let them panic. Her officer smirked. They won't believe it. They will when they see what's coming, she replied, dot in the Korra ruins. The surviving aliens listened carefully to scattered signals. At first, there was only static. Then a sound broke through, a deep tone repeating over and over. One of the elders gasped. It's the Deathworlders, she whispered. They're coming. Lyro didn't move. His hands trembled slightly. He had studied Earth's past. He knew what they were capable of, but what he didn't know, what no one knew, is how much stronger they had become. Dot far above, in orbit of a gas giant near Korra, a Zarn scout ship picked up strange readings. The pilot squinted at his screen. Unregistered signal. Heavy mass. Approaching fast. Before he could report back, the stars themselves seemed to shift. A shadow appeared where nothing had been before. Then the Rathburn dropped out of FTL. It didn't look like the sleek ships of the Galactic Council. It looked like a floating fortress. Covered in dark armor and ancient weapons, it was silent calm until it moved. Inside, Mira gave the order, deploy Oblivion Fang, begin approach. From the belly of the Wrathborn, the forgotten warship roared into the void. Its engines burned bright. Its guns spun with the power of 1,000 forgotten wars. Across Korra skies, sensors screamed, Zarn ships scrambled. No one understood what was coming. They had never seen a Deathworld ship. They didn't know what it meant, but they were about to learn. In a Korra resistance hideout, a young girl looked up and pointed. Look, in the sky, a dark shape streaked across the clouds. Fast, deadly, beautiful in its terror. Lyra's eyes widened. That's not just help, he whispered. That's vengeance. General Marek received the report an hour later. He stared at the hologram of the massive ship slowly descending into the system. Impossible, he said. That vessel was destroyed. Records show it was decommissioned a century ago. One of his officers spoke up, nervous. Sir, the human brought it back. Marek gritted his teeth. Ready all forces. Earth thinks we'll run. We'll show them the Zarn Empire doesn't fear ghosts. But deep down, fear had already entered his heart. He knew of the Deathworlders. Every warrior did. And if they had brought that ship, it meant only one thing. Earth wasn't here to negotiate. On board the Oblivion Fang, Deathworlders moved like machines. Calm, precise. Gedley, their leader, Hawk, stood before a map showing enemy bases. We hit them fast, we hit them hard. No survivors where they command from. Show them why you never wake Earth. The others nodded. And then they marched. Asterisk. When Earth's monsters landed, the air over Korra turned heavy. A strange wind stirred the ashes left by the Zarn attacks. From the skies, a sound grew louder like thunder, but deeper. It was the sound of engines not heard in this system for generations. People in hiding crept out from broken buildings, looking toward the sky. Above them, cutting through the clouds, came the first dropships. Painted black with the Earth insignia, 2 crossed blades over a burning star, they moved without fear. Then they landed. The Earth trembled. The ground cracked. The Deathworlders had arrived. Captain Mira stood on the bridge of the Wrathborn, watching through the screen. Her voice was calm. Begin ground operations. The signal was sent. On the surface, the dropship doors opened with a hiss. Ramp after ramp fell, and out stepped giants in thick armor. No glowing robes. No fragile suits. Just muscle, metal, and rage. Leading them was Hawk. His face was emotionless, but his eyes locked onto a nearby Zarn patrol moving toward a ruined city center. He raised his arm, leaning up. The first clash was fast. The Zarn patrol armed. Confident, opened fire. Blue plasma bolts streaked across the street, but the Deathworlders didn't fall. They moved through the fire like shadows. Their armor absorbed the hits. Their weapons answered back short bursts. Tight precision. 3 Zarn soldiers fell before they could even reload. Another tried to run, but was caught by a Deathworlder who moved faster than any normal being should. A quick twist. Silence. The patrol was gone in 60 seconds. In a hidden bunker beneath Korra's capital. General Merrick stared at the live feed in disbelief. What are these things? One of his aides spoke, shaking. Reports say they don't sleep. They don't panic. They keep coming, even if injured. Merrick clenched his fists. They're not soldiers. They're monsters. Across the city, resistance fighters watched the Deathworlders move like ghosts. One fighter, a woman with burns on her face, whispered, "They're not like us." "No," said Lero, standing beside her. "They're what the galaxy tried to forget." Inside the ruins of the Science Academy, a team of Deathworlders secured the area. A small alien child peeked out from a hole in the wall. One of the humans saw him and paused. The child flinched, but the Deathworlder knelt, placed the food pack on the ground, and nodded before moving on. They were warriors. Yes, but not mindless. By nightfall, 5 cities had been taken back. The Zarn Empire's forces were broken in each one. What they thought would be an easy hold turned into a nightmare. Zarn captains begged for air support, reinforcements, anything. But it was too late. The Rathburn now orbited Korra directly. Its weapons charged. Captain Mira gave one command: clear enemy outposts. Make room for peace. Laser fire rained from orbit, striking only Zarn structures. Precision. No civilians hurt. No cities lost beyond what the invaders destroyed. The next morning, silence fell across Korra again. But this time, it wasn't the silence of fear. It was the silence after justice. The Deathworlders had not only pushed the enemy back, they had made a statement. Earth was watching again. And Earth didn't forgive easily. Asterisk. The Empire's mistake. Underestimating Earth General Merrick paced back and forth in his command room. The reports were worse than he feared. In just one day, Earth's Deathworlders had taken back nearly half of Korra's major cities. Not with full armies, but with small strike teams that moved like ghosts and hit like thunder. How many did they send? Merrick growled. Less than 500, his officer replied. The room went silent. 500? Merrick repeated, his voice shaking with rage. We had 5,000 soldiers on the ground. The officer said nothing. There was no excuse, only a brutal truth. The Zarn Empire had made a mistake. A mistake that would cost them everything. They had underestimated Earth. On the Rathburn, Captain Myra reviewed the battlefield reports. Her team moved quickly, removing pockets of resistance, rescuing survivors, and setting up defenses. Earth never stayed long on foreign worlds. But when it arrived, it left an impact. She looked at the message she received from command. Should we push beyond Korra? She didn't reply right away. Instead, she asked, what's the Zarn fleet doing? Her OFFIC are checked. They'd pulled back, scared. They left some ships in orbit, but their main force is regrouping. Myra smiled coldly. They're running already. Good. We're just getting started. In one of the reclaimed cities, Lero walked beside a Deathworlder named Flint. The man was huge, armored, and silent, but not cruel. Lero asked, why did Earth come? After all these years, Flint looked at the young alien and replied, because someone asked for help. And Earth doesn't ignore cries for help? Lero blinked. Even after so long? Flint paused. Especially after so long. Elsewhere, the remaining Zarn forces tried to regroup in the mountains outside the main city. General Merrick ordered airstrikes, traps, and drone attacks. Anything to slow Earth down, but it didn't work. The Deathworlders moved through fire and steel as if it were nothing. They climbed cliffs in armor, crossed minefields with ease, and wiped out outposts without leaving bodies behind. They didn't fight fair. They fought to win. On the 4th day, a captured Zarn officer was brought before Captain Mira. He was injured, scared, and confused. You're not like the other species, he said. You don't fight for control. You don't take planets. Why are you doing this? Myra leaned forward. Because you made us remember. Remember what? What happens when someone hurts those we protect? Back in the skies above Korra, the Oblivion Fang moved into full orbit. Its weapons were now focused on the Zarn fleet trying to flee. Hawk, still in his battle armor, stood at the helm. No one runs, he said. The Zarn ships tried. They spun up their drives, sending distress signals. But the Oblivion Fang didn't respond with words. It responded with action. One by one, the ships exploded in silence, no ceremony. No warnings, only fire. The galaxy began to take notice. News of Earth's return spread across systems. Some celebrated. Some trembled. And others, the old enemies of Earth, began to prepare. Just in case the Deathworlders kept marching. Because if Earth had awakened, then the galaxy was no longer safe for tyrants. On Korra, the rebuilding had already begun. Cities were cleared. Food was delivered, and Earth's engineers started restoring power grids. The Deathworlders protected the workers without question. They weren't conquerors. They were shields. Lero stood on a hill, watching the Earth flag wave beside the Quran. Symbol. He had never seen anything like it. His people had believed Earth was a story, but now he knew the truth. They weren't a story. They were the end of one. Asterisk. Retaliation orders. The Zarn counterattack begins high above the shattered moons of the Zarn. Home sector. A dark fleet gathered. Massive warships, larger than anything Earth had seen in decades, lined up in perfect formation. Red lights flashed across their hulls. The largest of them all, the Doomblade, sat at the center. Inside it, Supreme Commander Varric stood before a long table with his generals. The humans have embarrassed us, he said coldly. They must be erased. One of the generals hesitated. Commander, their Deathworlders destroyed 5,000 of our troops in days. Their technology is old but powerful. Should we wait? Varric slammed his fist onto the table. Enough. We are the Zarn Empire. We do not wait. Ready all ships. We strike Korra directly. Burn it to the ground if we must. On Korra, the skies had cleared. The survivors were rebuilding. Earth engineers worked beside Quran scientists, fixing water systems and power grids. There was hope again, but that hope was about to be tested. From orbit, the Rathburn picked up movement. Multiple signatures inbound, Mira said, standing straight as her crew stared at the screen. This isn't a patrol. This is a full fleet. Her officer nodded. 32 warships, all Zarn, on direct approach. ETA? 2 hours. Myra didn't blink. Scramble the Fang. Prepare our defenses. Alert all Deathworlder. Units, this won't be a quiet night. On the ground, the warning sirens blared. Hawk looked up at the sky and grinned. Took them long enough? The other Deathworlders grabbed weapons, checked gear, and moved without panic. No yelling. Number. Fear. They had been trained for this. Born for it. This was not just a war, it was a message. Lero, now helping Earth's medics in the city center, ran to a comms unit. What's happening? A human soldier answered quickly. Big fleet's coming. Your skies are about to get noisy. Lero felt his heart drop. Can we survive it? The soldier smiled. With them up there? He pointed to the Oblivion Fang rising into the upper sky. We're not just going to survive, we're going to win. In orbit, the stars lit up with battle fire. The Zarn fleet arrived in full force, unleashing waves of missiles and plasma. The Rathburn and Oblivion Fang answered back, their guns firing in patterns that shattered enemy formations. 3 Zarn cruisers exploded in the first volley. 2 more tried to circle, but ran into a Deathworlder ambush ship hiding behind the 4th moon. Don't let them surround us, Mira ordered. Focus fire. Aim for their leaders. But it wasn't enough. Some enemy ships broke through and began firing on the surface. The ground shook as buildings crumbled. The Quran survivors screamed, running for cover. One enemy strike hit close to the hospital tent. Dust flew everywhere. Lero shielded 2 small children with his body as the blast rocked the area. Second strike came, but didn't land. It was shot down. Flint landed between the fires, pulling Lero up. You okay? Lero coughed, nodding. They're hitting everywhere. Then we hit back harder, Flint said, raising his weapon. In the skies above. Hawk and a small team launched from the Rathburn in drop pods. They landed behind enemy lines on the mountains, where Zarn artillery was firing nonstop. The Deathworlders didn't wait. They climbed, fought, and eliminated the artillery teams in brutal, silent moves. No one survived the ambush. Meanwhile, the Oblivion Fang unleashed its main cannon. A single red beam, thin and sharp, pierced the void. The Zarn command ship, the Black Maul, was hit directly. It broke in half, its front crashing into a nearby destroyer. The explosion lit up the system like a second sun. Captain Mira watched the screens. That should make them think twice. But it didn't. The Zarn were too angry now. They launched everything they had. Back on the surface, Flint stood on a rooftop, FIRNG nonstop at enemy drones. Lero stayed beside him, relaying coordinates. Then, from behind the clouds, 10 drop ships appeared, armed ground forces incoming. Hawk's voice came over the radio. They wanted to meet Earth's monsters face. To face? Let's give them a warm welcome. The Deathworlders readied their weapons, because the real battle was just beginning. Asterisk. Deathworlders stand alone, but they do not fall. Their dropships tore through the sky like burning daggers. Each one carried over 30 Zarn soldiers, heavily armed, full combat armor, trained to kill without mercy. They landed hard, shaking the earth, and poured out into the ruins of Korra's central city. At first, it looked like they might take the ground back. Until the Deathworlders moved. Flint led a team through the back alleys, avoiding the streets. He signaled to his squad to hold position. Then he whispered through his comm, 10 seconds, then break their line. Across from him, on the other side of the broken plaza, Hawk crouched behind rubble with his team. Copy, 10 seconds. As the Zarn soldiers advanced, scanning with their vision helmets, a small metal ball rolled to their feet. It beeped once, then exploded blinding light. A burst of sound and a shockwave that knocked half of them down. The Deathworlders struck. They moved fast, silent, deadly. Each one struck with perfect aim. Where a Zarn soldier needed 3 shots, the Deathworlders only needed 1. Their armor deflected plasma. Their knives cut through joints. Their tactics were brutal but effective. The Zarn tried to retreat, but found their paths blocked. The Deathworlders didn't surround enemies to trap them. They did it to erase them. Asterisk. From the top of a tower, Lero watched it all through binoculars. What he saw didn't look like war. It looked like a storm. He turned to the Earth medic beside him. Do they ever stop? The medic shook her head. Only when everyone's safe. Or when they're dead. Captain Mira stood tall on the Rathburns Bridge, reading the battle updates. How's the line holding? Ground teams have secured sectors Alpha through Delta, her officer replied. 1 Deathworlder casualty. Zarn forces down to 40%, Mira nodded. Send in reinforcements. Don't give them breathing room. Ma'am, the officer asked carefully, do we push to end it here? She stared at the screen, then gave a cold answer. No, we finish it here. On the surface, Hawk grabbed a fallen Zarn captain by the collar. The alien coughed, blood on his lips. You're not soldiers, you're monsters. Hawk looked him in the eye. You invaded a world that couldn't fight back. We thought no one would come. Hawk dropped him. You were right, no one came. He raised his gun, but we did. The sound of battle echoed across the broken hills for hours. Drones exploded in the air. Enemy artillery melted under focused earth strikes. Civilians were pulled from hiding places and evacuated by medics under Deathworlder protection. By the time the second wave of Zarn dropships tried to land, they were met mid-air by interceptor units launched from the Rathburn. Fire tore through the skies. None reached the ground. Back in orbit, the remaining Zarn warships began retreating. Their flagship was gone, their command base destroyed, and their generals silent. Supreme Commander Varric, watching the feed from his backup ship, finally gave the order. Pull back. Retreat. We will fight another day. But Earth wasn't finished. The Oblivion Fang activated its tracking system. One by one, retreating ships lit up on its display. Captain Myra gave a single command. Erase them. Missiles left the ship in long glowing trails. The explosions lit the sky above Korra like a second sun, one by one. The fleeing ships were erased from space. On the ground, Flint and Hawk met in the city square. Fires burned in the distance. Earth banners were raised beside Koran flags. Flint looked around. That all of them? Hawk nodded. For now, they'll be back. Then we'll be waiting. Valero approached them, his hands still dirty from helping the injured. You saved us, he said. But why did you stay? Behind? You could have just bombed them from space. Hawk looked down at the young alien. Because bombing doesn't save lives. It just ends them. He pointed to the people in the streets, Korans hugging each other, medics treating wounds, engineers repairing shelters. This is why we came, he said. Not to fight, but to protect. The night was calm again, but it wasn't the same. Silence as before Dot, it was the silence after survival. The silence where hope grows again. Asterisk. Earth's message to the galaxy a week had passed since the last Zarn ship was destroyed above Korra. The fires had stopped. The ruins were being rebuilt, and in the heart of the capital, where silence once ruled, life had returned. Shops reopened. Families came out of hiding. Children played again in streets cleared of rubble, but high above, Earth's fleet remained, not in occupation and protection. On the Rathburn, Captain Mira stood at the front window, arms folded. Watching the planet slowly heal, Dot, her officer, stepped forward. Rebuilding is moving fast. The Korans are asking if Earth plans to stay. Myra nodded slowly. No, not forever. We're not here to rule. We never were. The officer paused. Then, what should we tell the galaxy? She turned to him and said, tell them what they need to hear. Later that day, a signal went out. Across the galaxy, from outer colonies to the most powerful homeworlds. Earth's. Voice echoed across every channel. It was clear, firm, and impossible to ignore. Captain Myra appeared on screen, wearing her black uniform with Earth's sigil behind her. Her message was short. This is Captain Myra of Earth. We received a plea for help and we answered. She paused, letting the words sink in. Let it be known. When our allies call, we will come. When the helpless suffer, we will stand between them and those who harm. We are not conquerors. The screen zoomed in slightly on her calm, unblinking face. But if you bring war to the innocent, if you think Earth's leaps know this, we never stopped watching. Her voice lowered, almost like a warning wrapped in peace. The Deathworlders will march. Only when the galaxy forgets what mercy looks like. Then the screen faded to black. On Korra, the people watched the message in silence. Many had tears. In their eyes, some clapped. Others simply stood still grateful and speechless. Lero stood beside. Flint and Hawk in the city square, as the final words echoed in the air. He looked up at the tall warriors beside him. What happens now? Flint smiled faintly. Now, we go home. But the Zarn might come again, Hawk answered this time. Then we come back. Back aboard the Rathburn. The Deathworlders boarded their dropships. Their armor scratched, their weapons worn, but their spirits unbroken. Myra walked past them, proud Dot as the ship turned toward Earth's sector. The Oblivion Fang remained behind, silent, dark, floating above Korra like a reminder, not as a threat, but as a promise on. The far edge of space, the Zarn Empire reeled. Their leaders argued. Their soldiers feared. Supreme Commander Varric had gone silent, hiding in deep space. Ashamed and broken, the Empire had learned what many others forgot. Earth does not boast. Earth does not beg. Earth simply arrives when needed most. And when it does. Nothing is ever the same again.